Welcome, everybody, to the Voices of the South. This is the podcast where we talk about development from a global South perspective. Here you will find interviews with social innovators from everywhere around the world, alongside audio insights and a chat show focusing on different topics about development. Today, we will interview the founder and CEO of Remora. Remora is a social enterprise working in Puerto Rico that focuses on providing clean and potable water throughout advanced technology while promoting sustainable living and the protection of our water sources. So, without any more delays, welcome to the Voices of the Sun. It's a pleasure to have you here, Omar. Welcome to Voices of the South. Omar joined us today in one of our first interviews on one of the island nations around the world, and one of the nations that are dealing the most with the SDG number 6, which is water and sanitation. In this area, Omar and his team are working on what is known as the project Remora. Remora was launched on the 2020 or is it 2017? That's something that I
hello first. Thank you for having me. Remora started as an idea after Hurricane Maria back in 2017, and it started as an official Enactus project in 2018. And in 2020, we became a social enterprise. So you're not completely wrong. Those dates are Remora's birth and then the reborn.
Yeah. So it's 2017 is the starting of the year, and 2020 is sort of like the consolidation of it, which is amazing. It's one of the things that happens a lot with the projects. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about what started with Remora. And as you said, the whole idea of the project started with the catastrophe that happened with one of the hurricane. It was Katrina, or it was
Hurricane Maria.
Hurricane Maria. Yeah. So with the catastrophe that happened alongside the Hurricane Maria. I would like to ask you, what is the goal of Remora? Where Remora wants to go?
So a little bit of background on the project, so the goal will be more understandable. Hurricane Maria happened 4 years ago, September 20th, 2017. So it's actually 2 days ago was the 4th anniversary of it. I lost my home. I spent 5 months without electricity and clean water. So the idea kind of like started from my own experience with not having clean water. Not having electricity for me wasn't a big issue because there's a lot of solutions to use gas and batteries and all of that to have electricity and to power stuff in your house when I was able to rebuild the house. But for clean water, the solutions were effective at some point. Like, you will get clean water, but they will create an additional damage to the environment. We will get water bottles, thousands of them monthly, and then we're creating a lot of waste. So the idea of Remora started there. How can we provide communities a sustainable source of clean water that can last for years, and that it's suitable for natural disasters, and that it's not creating an additional damage to the environment. So it all started there. Then when we were able to go back to college, I started talking to my Enactus colleagues. Do you think we can make a project out of this struggle that we all shared in Puerto Rico? They said yes. We started creating this project as initially a project that was going to tackle not only clean water, but also the waste that was being created after the hurricane. as months went by, that was too complicated to do. So we decided to just focus on providing uh, clean water to communities. So the main goal of Remora is to help communities in need or communities that do not have access to clean water because they are off grid or because they lived in a zone that the current local government infrastructure will not reach, to provide those communities with clean water using a device that will not depend on any of the current infrastructure. So we also added solar energy to the device. So the device itself will work in any environment that there is a source of water, such as a river, a lake, or a stream, and that you can get sunlight. And that's what we've been doing for the past 2 years since the first device was installed, and that is our goal: just provide clean water to communities without access to it.
That's really beautiful. It definitely wouldn't work on the Scandinavian countries because sun is not a thing in here. But I can see how it works on countries on the tropical side of things, where sun is, I don't know, Mexico had sun around 200 something days around the year. I suppose Puerto Rico is similar in that situation. You
Yeah.
guys also have a lot of sun. And I well, now that we have seen the idea and you explained a little bit about the background of the project and how the reason why it was created, I would like to know who is working with you, who's your team, because all of these great ideas and great projects cannot really be developed by yourself. It's really hard to do that. So I would also like to know them a little bit if you want to share, of course.
Yes. So over the course of the years that Remora has been working, we've had multiple individuals that has provided different insight and that have helped the project. Currently, we are a team of three. I am the CEO and founder. I have Ariana Font, which is uh, helping with strategy and community relations. And we have Joshua, who works in marketing and also strategy and finance and all the PR that we have to do to uh, get funding and get companies to support Remora. We also have uh, an like a bigger team rather than just the executive team, that it's a form of volunteers and also community members, because our another sub goal, I will say, of Remora, it's to have an economic impact on these communities. So we're trying to hire individuals from the communities we worked in to be part of the technical side of Remora, so they can help assembly these machines and also gain an additional income. So we have two people in Corozal, which is where the project started, that currently work on the assembly of the devices.
Of course. That sounds really nice. Could you explain a little bit on go deeper on how the model of Remora works? Because you already explained to us how is that, or well, the idea and how is the core concept and the production and everything. Could you explain a little bit on how is Remora made? How do you put so sort of to describe the objects or listenings listeners can imagine what is remora, because at the moment I imagine this little fish that goes with the shark, which I suppose is part of the inspiration. But yeah.
You're right. The name comes from the fish that gets attached to sharks to eliminate the bacteria and all of that. That's where the inspiration comes from, because that's what we basically do. We place these devices inside a water source, or a waterway, I will say, such as a river. And we clean that water so people can drink it. So the device will go into the river, uh, water will be pumped into the device, and then on the other side, the community member will be waiting uh, for the water for whatever use they may have. But the device is basically a box that has three different filtration methods merged together, um, so we can have the cleanest and safest water possible. Um, it's powered by solar energy, so there's a solar panel on top, and it's portable and lightweight, so the community can move it around the water source or transport it to another water source if they need to. We do all the assembly of the parts, and we deliver it to the community and train the community on how to use this device, and also why it's important to protect that water source that they're using. And a little bit on the model, we get
Just
funded.
a physical description of it, so sort of to see. As you were telling before, polluted water comes in one end, and clean water comes out in the other. But more or less, does it work like a meal, like a water meal, or like sort of like how? Let me rephrase it. Because of the name of Remora, you imagine that it's a little, or I imagine I see a little fish-like device that you put and opens its mouth where the polluted water enter, and then magic happens, and the clear or potable water comes out of that situation. But I I don't know if I am imagining this too much or.
Well, we tried originally to do it that way, but it was very complicated and very expensive to do it. So, but just so people can imagine it, imagine a box, just a regular box, and there's a pipe uh, going inside the river. So it's the water is getting pumped through that pipe inside the box. Inside that box, all the magic happens. It gets filters. It gets filtered. All the chemical components and pollutants are separated. And then on the other side, you'll have kind of like a faucet to get the water from the machine, or there is a longer pipe on that side if people want to store the water or to connect it to a community center or any current connection that they have. But yeah, originally we tried to do it like a fish. It was probably not very realistic to do it, but we stay with the name because it's very much what we do. We just clean water. It's a healthy relationship for the river, for us, and for the community, just the same way it is for the shark. And,
Yeah,
and
no, and the name is super catchy. It's I don't remember if Remora changed the animal changes name in other languages, but as far as I know, Remora stays in the same. But I'm not sure about that.
uh, in English, it will just change the way you say it. Remora.
Remora. Yeah, of course. It might be that the majority of the languages do something similar. But it's a really catchy name, and it explains perfectly the concept of what you and your team are trying to make. Um, but moving on in this situation, moving on in this way of how the project gets applied in vulnerable communities, I wanted to ask you: you mentioned that you employed local population from these communities, and you give them the workshops and you give them the tools so they can keep utilizing the Remora to clean their water. How is the model? How do you work in this model? How Remora pays the bills, so to say, and at the same time maintains social motivation, its social goal.
Yeah, so kind of the Remora business model is um, focused on getting social social corporate responsibility programs and local governments and nonprofit agencies to support the project if their mission is to provide clean water to communities. So we have we call it sponsors. We have this sponsors or this partners that they have a social mission related to providing clean water, and we will sell these devices to them, to these companies and agencies, um, in, in a way that we are like selling this device for you to help this particular community. Most of these organizations already have a particular region that they want to work with, or surrounding communities in case of the corporate programs. So we kind of like offer the devices as a solution to fulfill their mission, and that's how we get funded and how we pay the bills basically. We have a selling price for this partners, and that selling price include not only the device but the educational program and the operational cost of going into these communities. So we never make the community pay for the device they're using. It's collaborator a collaboration and an effort between us as the creators of the machine, and as having our mission of providing clean water, partnering with some other organization, agency, or corporate company that shares the same mission and values as us, and of course have the financial freedom to support a community.
Oh, yeah, that's a really good strategy to keep the lights on a project. Going a little bit deeper on this topic, now that you start talking about it, I suppose that this wasn't as the same as with the fish model of the water purification device. I suppose that this business model wasn't the one that you started, which is sort of an inflection point on the early, or yeah, probably the early moments of Remora when you were working with it. Could you explain a little bit more on that? How was the process? Where did you start to see, okay, we have this project, it's a good idea, it's sort of maybe working, but I am not ready to fully commit? And when did you said like, okay, this is it, this is the moment when I know that Remora is gonna work and I'm gonna keep doing it?
Wow. There are many moments where I was like, am I doing the right thing? Is this worth it? Is this ever gonna to actually happen? Like we had the idea, we had the design, we had everything in paper, and everything seemed to be perfect. But it took a while to make that paper into something real. I think a specific moment was when we finished all the designs. We finished, all the brainstorming behind it. That probably took us a year. And when we tried to do it, we were like, we have no money. We said there's no way we can do this. Because we were a group of students, so there's no way I can put money into this. There's no way any of us can put money into this. Uh, College will not do it. There's just a lot of barriers for us to get money. And then we started. That's where we changed the model to what it is now. Let's seek partnerships. Let's go to these organizations that have the same mission, and they are looking for solutions and have the financial freedom to do it. And when we started talking to these companies and organizations, it was a hurricane of constant no's. It was like, no, we will not support you. We want established projects, or you're too young, or you don't have the experience of, or you've never been uh actually to our community to see what's going on, which is a lie because we were in an actor, so we visited communities all the time. But that's where I was like, yeah, maybe this is not gonna work. I don't think I want to do this anymore. Let's be the status quo, and move on. Um, and I think that was towards the end of maybe fall to that 2018, where I was like, yeah, I don't think I want to do this. But then we I got an email from the Enactus Worldwide, and they were like, you are a top 12 project in the Enactus World Water Race, and you may have an opportunity to get funded. And I was like, well, somebody trusted us, somebody believed in us, and there's a way we can find money. So I think being a top 12 project in this competition kind of like motivated me again to continue working with the project. And it was also a great name drop. We were like, finally we have some type of validation to now go into other competitions or talk to other organizations to help us. So I will thanks and act forever for that. We didn't win. We didn't make it to the top 4. We didn't get funded, but it was the source of validation we needed to, and motivation as well. And after that, I think I've never stopped working. I had a lot of barriers after that, but none of them were for me a moment where I was like, I'll give up. Because I was like, no, I mean, someone believed in me, and I'll use that as my source of motivation. And after that, we continue going into competitions and talking to corporate people and agencies, and we have won 21 competitions since then. So we have mainly supported the R&D part with competitions, and we had support from the Ford Foundation, T-Mobile Foundation, the Ashoka Foundation, the Puerto Rico Science Trust. So I think that was the turning point, being recognizing that an international organization was thinking of us as a great project, and they were right.
Yeah, no, of course. I can see that. Um, just quickly, how many people do you think Remora is impacting, or how many people Remora is impacting right now?
Yeah, we are right now in we have impacted 5 different communities in Puerto Rico, 5 different towns, and we're impacting around 800 to 1,000 individuals, and providing around 10 million gallons of water yearly.
Okay, that's a lot of water. Yeah, it sounds relatively low when you say it, but when you start thinking on all the work that comes behind that is huge. I would like to, if you feel comfortable, to go into those barriers that you mentioned that you faced. As a fellow social entrepreneur, as somebody who has been also digging or working the earth, in sometimes quite literally, to create a project and to change the world. I would like to know also how you face, which is one of the significant moments, so to say, but and for the possible new entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs that are hearing us, just one of the barriers, maybe the most significant for you, that you put a lot of effort. It doesn't matter if you yeah, if you overcame that barrier, or if you had to retreat and learn and evolve to try again later. But if you could share us one of those moments, I think it would be super beautiful.
I think the main barrier was more of a personal one. You gotta pay the bills. So when we are starting this projects or this startup or this social ventures, there's no money. You cannot fully commit to a to your idea the way you want it. Um, and I think my main barrier was that I will take a lot of time to do stuff in the project just because I needed to go to my full time job or I needed to go to school. So I think time was a barrier just because it's very, very hard in the beginning to balance creating a social venture by yourself, basically. Like you have to do every single part of that social venture. Um, but that's something that you overcome with passion. If you are doing this because you are passionate about the goal of your venture or what what is it that it's going to change in society, if you're passionate about that, I think you'll everyone will find a way to balance your life between all the different hats that we have to wear um daily. um it's very important to think that, I mean, it's very important to have clear that you cannot do this for the money,
Mm.
because it will take a while to for you to have some type of earning or um
A salary,
huh
a salary.
a salary, yeah, some type of money income to you. It will take a while, especially if you are doing your project as a nonprofit, but it will come.
Mm.
Like it will, you will not be there forever. It will come, and you decide when to stop if you feel like it's been 3 years and I'm spending way more money than I'm getting. But it will come. I think it's just a way of being passionate about it. And I think that was the main barrier for me. It was just, how can I be the founder and the CEO and the marketing guy and do the pitch competition and talk to these people while going to my full-time job and doing all I have to do there, while going to school and studying for tests, while also trying to have a social life.
Oh
So
yeah,
it
the
took me
social
a
life.
while, but I think I finally figured it out. And I think, I'm passionate. I'm passionate about Remora. I am happy with Remora. I feel fulfilled when I visit a community and they have changed, or they called us to just to thank us randomly. I value all those things, and I cannot put those in money value.
Yeah, no, of course it's yeah. I totally get the feeling of even if you put all your money in the project and whatever the results at the end of the project, if you change if you change the life of somebody or somebody's, uh, that is way more valuable than all the
Yeah.
money that you could make.
Another barrier is funding. Everyone feels that will go through that barrier as well. Funding is just everyone's issue at some point. And for me, it worked just to stop for a while looking for funding and focusing on the venture. What like some people will automatically jump to get funding without fully thinking about all parts of the venture.
Hmm.
And for me, it worked to just stop for a few months, sit down, rethink the idea, and then go get funding. And it worked too.
So That was what I was going to ask. You designed the interior of Remora. You are the head designer also, or that's somebody else?
It's a combination of both. I had the idea with my team of the things we wanted. We knew we wanted solar energy. We knew we wanted these three different proven water filtration methods together, and we know what we wanted it to look like and to work. But we're all on mostly the business side of things,
Mm.
so we hire a team of designers and engineers that worked with us to transform that idea and the things we wanted into reality, because
Mm.
they were, they had the knowledge and how this part will go with this part and how to connect it to the solar panel and all of that. And as part of that team was one of the community members. He's an electrician, and he also worked with us in that design of the device. So it's like a combination of us having the idea and then bringing people that were technical enough to transform what we design into something uh real.
Yeah, yeah. Again, all of these ideas that can change the world, all of these ideas that can impact the world in some way, usually come from teamwork. And it's important to recognize it, and it's important to admit where you can go and where you can go, so somebody else can help you, mainly for that. That's a beautiful story about how Remora has reached where Remora has reached. And I'm really glad that you guys are impacting that many people. Um, Before I start asking about the future, which is something that I'm dying to ask you, because I can see Remora everywhere now. But I want to touch upon two big things. One, the biggest achievement or the most significant achievement for Remora, according to you, and the fuck up that you would say was the biggest mistake that almost cracked down the project, but it didn't. You learned from that, you recovered, and now you are here having an interview and being recognized by an organization as big as Enactus and Ashoka and the Ford Foundation, which is really, really cool. So, yeah, you decide which one you start with. Uh,
I'll start with the biggest achievement.
Awesome.
I think that there are two biggest achievements that I value equally. Um, the first one is when we installed our device for the first time. It was February 2020, so it was just before the pandemic started. We
Oh
started,
boy.
yeah, we installed our first device in Corozal, which is my hometown. We wanted to implement it for the first time where where the idea started initially.
Mhm.
So for me, that was the biggest achievement, because we were finally going to provide a community with clean water, and it was the realization of, wow, this is not an idea anymore. There is a machine. It is cleaning water. People are drinking water from this device. So I think that was, for me, one of the biggest achievements. We even were featured by that work in Nat Geo's Impact by Gal Gadot. So we I'm very, very proud of having the machine installed there and having multiple machines around Puerto Rico at this point. And I think the second biggest achievement for us was to win the Enactus Puerto Rico competition, because the project started as an Enactus project, and it started where we were all students, and we worked in it for 4 years as part of like our daily college lives. And it was very, 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 very fulfilling to win in the organization that started this. And it was kind of like a moment where we were like, okay, we're ready for the next step. It kind of like finished the cycle. We were like, we started this 4 years ago. We just won the competition. We represented Puerto Rico in the World Cup. I think we're not students anymore in a project, and I think it's time to call ourselves social entrepreneurs. And I think those two achievements are the biggest for me equally for different reasons. And what was it? A mistake?
Yeah, I mean, it's called colloquially, it's called a fuck up. I don't know if
Oh
you have
yeah.
these events in Puerto Rico, but it's a so-called fuck up nights. And the idea with all of this is to show entrepreneurs that you can fuck up and things are gonna look bad at that moment, but if you can also get over them and you can also learn from them. And
Yeah.
I want to do it in here, and I want to show it in here because the majority of the fuck up nights that I have been to happens to be there is people with a lot of money that they're fucked up was like, oh yeah, we forgot to put the taxes on the final budget of the
Oh.
product, but because my dad knows these guys, they were like, yeah, it's okay, don't worry, which is something that when I remember my experience, my previous experience as a social entrepreneur, and you're probably gonna be on the same page, it's like, yeah, no, if I were to make that mistake, I would be banned for the building forever and never be
Yeah.
able to go back again. So the idea of the fuck up is that one is what happened to you or what happened to the project that sort of the lowest point, but then again you overcome it and you are here talking about it and you are here maybe hopefully teaching somebody getting inspired from this moment.
I think our biggest fucked up was when we started testing the device. We started to, we assembled the device and then we started testing. We didn't have an engineer as part of that team. We didn't have really anyone that could work with the issues that we knew the device was going to go through. I think at some point one of the filters exploded, water was leaking everywhere. We started the machine and there was dirt in the water that we supposedly just filter. So I think not, because we were trying to avoid to pay someone. And we were like, oh, we already had them in the team. They already, sent us the how this is gonna work, and we can do this.
Whatever, there is a YouTube tutorial somewhere. Fuck it.
Yeah, it's like they already told us everything that we need to know. We can do this. We're smart. And then when we started the machine, it was a chaos, and we ended up losing money because we were, the filters were damaged, the pipes were damaged. That first machine that we installed was damaged because it didn't work and it got clogged and all of that. So, and at that point I was like, wow, it would have been easier and also probably less expensive to include an engineer and a environmental scientist in this, rather than just waiting thousands and thousands of dollars in equipment.
Yeah, I can, especially when you're starting, I can say that as a fuck up. But then again, it's often something that a lot of, that we all as entrepreneurs tend to do because, like, of course, if I thought of that idea, why shouldn't I be able to do it? By all means.
Like, I don't need anyone.
I don't need anybody.
Yeah. But unless other people, I paid my taxes. That's not my fucked up.
No, they weren't paying the taxes. They just didn't put it on the last budget. So it was like 16% of the tax value that they forgot to put. in a budget, which is like, dude, that's not a photo. Like you don't lose anything there. Anyway, but yeah, that was an amazing example, and really not common, but really often happens that you believe that, hey, I can do this. Like I thought about it. Why I shouldn't do it? And then you face the reality when it's like, yeah, no, physics don't work that way, and
Yeah.
you need to head back to the table, of course. Well, moving to the next section, moving to the future section, to what is going to happen now with Remora. I suppose the pandemic already came, do these things to Remora, and now you guys are strong or stronger than ever before. Or yeah, uh, what is the next step for Remora? Are you planning to go outside of Puerto Rico, or where are you planning to go? You have probably one of the best projects that I know at the moment, working with the SGD6, which is really important, and I think is one of the that we are failing to achieve, like entirely. I think one of the sub goals is it's gonna the problem is actually gonna get worse in the next 20 years, if I'm not mistaken. I might be. But yeah, what's the plan for Remora? How are you guys gonna start working alongside international community? Maybe the UN, maybe Ashoka, maybe I don't know.
Yeah, so the future is bright for us. Actually, for us, the pandemic helped us a lot because we worked mostly through the pandemic, installing these devices and doing all of this. Um, and so the first thing we want to do is to improve our current device. We have some learnings and some issues that we faced when installing these devices throughout Puerto Rico, things that could be improved, and how can we improve the relationship uh, between that community and this device and the device itself. So what we're looking for in the immediate future, I will say before the end of this year, it's to transform the learnings and the mistakes that and issues that we faced throughout the pandemic, just because I say the pandemic because we were installing all these devices through the pandemic, but the issues that we face in installing these devices in different communities, different types of environments, and different types of water sources, transform all of that into a new device, an improved device. We already have the design. We already have worked with the engineers and the scientists, because we do not want any filter to explode this time.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah. So we're looking in the immediate future before the end of the year, get funding for that, and do a prototype and test it in one of the communities that we're going to work with in other parts of Puerto Rico. So before the end of the year, we want to do that. We want to go to other zones of Puerto Rico where we are already establishing partnership with local governments and companies in those areas. And our plan is to expand next year to the Caribbean. We have talked to organizations in Haiti and the Dominican Republic that are interested in having Remora as part of their efforts to improve a community. But we want to go to the Caribbean, and then the plan for in the long term, it's to start working in Latin America. Um, and at some point go worldwide, but we want to focus first in the Caribbean and Latin America, because there are not a lot of projects like us working in this countries, especially Latin American countries. Uh, I don't know the reason, but all the projects I know of are in the United States, Africa, Australia, Europe. some parts of Asia, and there's very, very, very little information on water projects in Latin America that are changing the infrastructure of that community. I've heard of a lot of projects that are providing clean water in different ways, but they are not changing the infrastructure of the community in the way we want to do it. So that's why we want to focus first in Latin American countries and then go worldwide.
Yeah, because well, Remora is sort of a long-term solution to the problem of water sanitation, which is something that, as you say, I haven't heard about that many projects that actually manage to do that. Because some of them are, I saw this incredible thermal that you filter the water and you were able to drink water from it. But how many times do you need to fill that thermal to have a bucket of water or something like that, which is something that probably doesn't. Yeah, I mean, it's long-term sustainable, yes, but the effort that you put and everything, you're going to spend all your life trying to fill the bucket of water. It's really nice to hear that you guys are focusing in Latin America. I have my own theories on why Latin America fell down from the development world. We can go about them later. Otherwise, we're gonna stay here for like 2 hours. But it's really nice that you guys are starting to do that. It's really nice that you expect to expand relatively soon in your region. And I would be really looking forward hearing this great news about Remora in Mexico and other countries around the continent, the Americas. Okay, we are reaching the final section. We are reaching the end of this wonderful interview. I want to ask you anything that you want to recommend to any new social entrepreneur, any new social innovator that is hearing us today, that is reaching out to find inspiration, maybe.
It may sound a cliche, but it's really, really important to find a problem that you're passionate about. Don't do something just because it's trendy or because you want to jump into this wagon or like, find something that relates to you. I decided to work with water because I personally experienced not having clean water. And and that served me as my source of motivation and passion. And when I went through rough times, I was like, I don't want any other kid or any other individual.
Anyone.
Yeah, any other individual to not have clean water for 5 months after going through a natural disaster, losing their homes, all of that, losing family members in the catastrophe. I don't want anyone to go through that. And that served me as a motivation throughout all these years. I could have given up multiple times because I had other opportunities where, I was not going to be as stressed. I was going to receive way more money. I was going to be maybe more comfortable, but those things they didn't have any sort of like, I will not be passionate about those. So find a problem that you are interested in, passionate about, try to make a solution. And if you don't have a solution at first, that's okay too. It's going to take a while to develop a solution that works, a solution that can like actually change someone's life. But if you're passionate about that specific problem, you will find a solution sooner or later. And it's hard. It will get hard. It's probably going to be hard forever because it's not easy to change the status quo as a small social innovator. There's a lot of politics that go into a lot of these issues. there are a lot of powerhouses, I call them, big corporate things that will not want you to do what you're doing.
Yeah.
But you just gotta keep trying and moving on. People will be grateful that you're bringing a solution to them.
Yeah, that's an amazing recommendation. And yes, as you say, it's almost, well, it's not almost, it is an uphill battle to try to change the status quo.
Yeah.
Because after all, the status quo is for a reason, the status quo, and that's why it's implemented there, and that's why it's so hard to change, and yeah, so many things to go.
Find a team. You don't need to do it alone.
Yeah.
Find a team. Find individuals that share the same values as you, that are looking forward to have the same mission as you. You don't have to do it alone, and you will not do it alone, because the success of most of this project is a team that works together, a team that it's passionate as the same way as founder. That for me has worked wonders, having a team of individuals that are very, very different in their own way, but we share the same goal of providing clean water to people.
Yeah, that's also really true. You need a team to achieve to actually change the world. You cannot change it by yourself. For more than you pump yourself to do it, it doesn't work like that. Okay, one of the final questions. We have people that are not gonna anytime soon become a social entrepreneurs or social innovators. However, they want to be involved with the efforts that young people, that other social entrepreneurs are doing around the world to change their social realities. What would you recommend to those people?
You don't have to be a social innovator to change the world. You can do small things. You can do changes in your daily lives to words toward a goal. For example, if we take water as an example, you can, I don't know, turn off the faucet while you're taking a shower, or use, efficient electrodomestics. There are things that people can do to be socially empowered, that do not need to take a whole, I have to build a venture and find a problem and help and develop a business. You can do small things. The point is that you actually just do something. That is something I used to do before starting Remora. I will participate in other organizations, in other in efforts by other people, and that was fulfilling, and that was helpful as well. There are people out there that will need you, and you don't have to build a venture for that. You can just join efforts of other organizations that are doing the work that you're interested in. Not everyone could be an entrepreneur. Not everyone could be an innovator, and that's okay too. Don't feel because you are not creating the greatest next thing that you're not valuable to the mission of whatever problem you are trying you want to tackle. Just because you're not the founder of something, that doesn't mean you're not valuable to the cause of that organization. And as I said before, there's entrepreneurs are looking for individuals to join their teams. Join that team, be part of it. It's valuable, and it's just as valuable as being the founder.
Yeah, and it's important to recognize, as you said before, the founder by himself, herself, they themselves, they would not be able to do it by themselves. It just doesn't stick.
Doesn't make sense.
Oh. Anyway, for the closing comments, would you like to tell us where are your social networks? How can people support Remora if that's what they want to do? How can they reach out?
Yes, we have a newly renovated website that you can go to. It's remorawater.com. There you can see the devices, there's pictures, there's testimonials about their communities. There's case studies that we have done in these communities, so you can learn more about us. There's also a donate button in the right top corner. So if you want to help us, you can donate $1. That will help. You can go there and support us. There's also a video section in the webpage that we have created some educational content for people to understand the water issues that the world's currently facing right now and why are we doing this. Also, there you can find the National Geographic documentary if you're interested in seeing footage of the work we did in Puerto Rico during the pandemic. And we are on every social media: Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram as Remora Water Tech. Follow us, message us, share our work, and that will help our cause.
Yeah, of course. Well, Omar, it was a pleasure having you in Voices of the South. We hope that you liked the interview. We loved that.
Thank you everybody for hearing us today. Remember that you can follow us on our Instagram and our Facebook as The Social Backer. Finally, we would like to thank our patrons who made this program possible. Lois E, Laura N, Alma N, Sergio R, Ben E, Patricia O. If you would like to support this program and get some extra content, you can do so at Patreon, the Social Backer.